My name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and today we're going to make some garden stakes. Craft number 1. For this craft, I'm using the bamboo skewers from the Dollar Tree, and these are the really long ones over in the barbecue section. These skewers are really long. They're 32 inches in length, and I'm going to cut them in half at the 16-inch mark and use them as dowels for garden stakes in the yard. To cut these in half, I marked them at the 16-inch mark, and I'm going to use a saw that I found in my husband's garage and my cutting board. Might not be the safest way to cut them, but I was trying to show a safe way to cut them on the screen here. I also used a pink clip to just clip the skewer into place so it was a little bit easier to cut. You could use a clamp if you had one of those as well. For this next step, I used these really cute chalkboard painted wood cutouts that I found at the Dollar Tree. And I found them in the garden section. So I thought these would be really cute for garden stakes in the garden. So I'm taking the jute twine that came in the package with these cute ornaments, and I'm just making a quick little bow. And what I'll do later is I'll glue those on top to cover up the hole in these ornaments. Next, you see me taking some words that I cut out on my Cricut Joy, and I just cut out a few different items that I have in my garden. So I cut out basil, lavender, and I believe rosemary here. And so then that way I could put these out in my garden. If you don't have a vinyl cutter, you can totally use letters from the Dollar Tree in the sticker section or rub-on transfers. You could even write on them with some chalk paint. So what I'm doing here to attach the ornaments to the dowels is I'm going to take some wood glue, and I just put a few dots of wood glue along the back side of these ornaments, and then I use some hot glue as well, and I just lay down that skewer and I add a little bit more hot glue, and then I take a little piece of ribbon to cover that up and keep them in place. And I'm using my pink clips to just make sure that nothing moves around and it stays really tight. And what I like about this craft is it's really simple and easy to do and inexpensive, and it's totally useful for you to put in your yard. I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you guys have a garden in your yard? What's your favorite thing to plant? Craft number 2. For this craft, I'm going to use some rocks from the yard. We're going to clean them up in some soapy water. So you see me dropping these rocks in some soapy water here. I'm also grabbing some rocks that I painted for the garden in the years past, and I'm just putting them into the soapy water so we can go ahead and reuse them again for this craft. So I'm going to grab a towel and just wipe down all of these rocks and then allow them some time to dry. Once dry, I go ahead and put the rocks on a paintable surface. I grab my chalk paint from Walmart, and I'm going to go ahead and give a nice thick coat of paint on the top of these rocks. And I get around the side a little bit and just do a nice thick coat, and we'll come back to painting the other side here in a little while. Okay, so a little while has passed and these have dried. So we're just going to flip these over and paint the back side of these rocks. And for painting these rocks, I did one coat around each side of the rocks. There were one or two that I had to put an extra coat on, but they covered really well with one coat. For this next step, I took a chalk pen. I got this one at Walmart, and you have to shake it before you write with it. But once you start writing with it, it turns out really well. And I'm just going to write down a few different things that I have on my garden. Before putting these out in your garden, let them sit and dry for a full day before you set them outside. And this is the second or third year that I've done these little markers, and they actually last the whole season out in your garden. Craft number 3. For this craft, I'm going to use one of those wood palettes from the Crafter Square section at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use my antique wax, and I'm going to paint over the top of these palettes. And what I'm doing here is I'm painting it, then wiping it down with a baby wipe, just to give it that nice stained look. Once this is all stained, I'm going to let that dry. And then I'm going to take my Cricut, and I'm making a stencil with the Cricut, and I'm putting Lucky Ladybug. And so I have to do some, I guess, what's that called? Weaving is I think what they call it, where you take out some of the little pieces when you're doing the Cricut. And I just put those little pieces into the stencil so that the letters look correct. And we'll use some white Waverly paint, and we'll go ahead and we're going to dab that down and do a little stencil. It's not going to look perfect, but it's going to be really rustic looking, which is the look I was trying to go for. And I'm just touching up a little bit with some white paint. Next, I'm going to grab one of those skewers that I made earlier, and I'm just going to stain that as well with the Waverly wax paint. Now I'm going to flip that over, and I'm going to use the same technique that I used earlier with the wood glue and with the hot glue. And we're just going to make a nice little line with dots, and we'll set that skewer right down on top. And then we'll clip that on with our clips, and then we'll use a little piece of ribbon, and I'm just going to cut it down to size. And I'm going to put that over the top of the skewer with a little bit more hot glue. And then everything is nice and attached there. Now I'm going to add a few of those cute little ladybugs that I found at the Dollar Tree earlier this spring and had no idea what I was going to use them for. And we're going to seal this off with some Rust-Oleum sealer. And I'm doing this outside, and we're just going to spray that so this will last a little bit longer in our garden. So I wanted to add something else to this garden tag. So I'm grabbing a piece of scrap fabric, and I'm cutting a small strip off. And I'm going to tie a little bow around the bottom of the skewer, and I'm going to just move that all the way up to the top of this cute tag. Now it's ready for the garden. Thank you everybody for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. Please leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite craft was for today.